Good morning, bro. John Cena and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson were out for their daily jog along a seaside boardwalk. It wasn't just any morning, it was one of those mornings where the world felt alive. The sky blazed with streaks of orange and pink, like someone had spilled paint across heaven itself. Waves crashed rhythmically against the shore, creating an almost hypnotic beat that matched the steady thud-thud of their sneakers hitting the wooden planks beneath them. Cena's breaths came in sharp bursts as he glanced sideways at Dwayne. "You're getting slow," Cena teased, his voice carrying over the sound of the waves. Dwayne shot him a look, half smirk, half glare, and picked up the pace. Their rivalry wasn't just reserved for wrestling rings. Even here on this peaceful pier, they couldn't resist pushing each other. As they rounded the curve of the boardwalk, something caught their eye, a small figure perched near the edge of the pier. From a distance, it looked like a statue, frozen in time. But as they got closer, they realized it was a boy, no older than 12 or 13. He sat in a wheelchair, his hands gripping a fishing rod with practiced ease. His dark brown skin glowed softly in the golden light of sunrise, and his face carried a look of quiet determination. "Who is he?" Cena murmured under his breath, slowing down to get a better look. Dwayne shrugged but didn't answer. Instead, he nudged Cena forward. "Let's go say hi." John Cena greeted, stopping just a few feet away from the boy. His voice carried warmth but also curiosity. The young angler didn't flinch or look nervous. Instead, he kept his gaze steady on the water, hands gripping the fishing pole with practiced ease. It was clear this wasn't his first time out here. The boy finally looked up, his dark eyes meeting theirs. "Could be better," he said with a small shrug. "The fish are playing hard to get today." Dwayne chuckled, crossing his arms over his broad chest. "That's part of the game, isn't it? They make you work for it." The boy grinned, nodding. "Yeah, I guess." John gestured toward the fishing rod. "You come out here often?" "Every chance I get," the boy replied, adjusting his grip slightly. "I'm training." Dwayne raised an eyebrow. "Training for what?" "The tournament," the boy explained, his voice carrying a hint of pride. "There's a big fishing competition tomorrow. I've been practicing for weeks." John exchanged a glance with Dwayne before looking back at him. "That's awesome. What's your name, kid?" "Tyler." "Well, Tyler," John said with a smile, "sounds like you're serious about this." Tyler nodded firmly. "I am. But not everyone thinks I should be doing it." Dwayne frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" Tyler exhaled, glancing down at his fishing pole. "Some people think it's a joke. They say a kid in a wheelchair can't win a fishing tournament. They laugh at me, call me names, say I don't belong." John's jaw tightened slightly, but he kept his voice steady. "That's a load of crap." Dwayne crouched down so he was at eye level with Tyler. "Listen to me, kid. The only people who say things like that are the ones who are too weak to try anything themselves. You've already done something they haven't. You're out here putting in the work. That means you've already beating them." Tyler looked at him for a moment, processing the words. Then slowly, a smile formed on his face. "You really think so?" John nodded. "Absolutely. And you know what? We're going to be there tomorrow. We'll be watching, cheering you on, just to see you prove them all wrong." Tyler's eyes widened. "Seriously? You guys would come?" Dwayne smirked. "Wouldn't miss it." Tyler grinned, his confidence seeming to grow. "All right then. I'll see you at the tournament." John and Dwayne exchanged a satisfied look before stepping back. "We'll be there," John assured him. They turned and started walking back toward the main road, but just as they did, A deep rumbling noise cut through the peaceful morning air. The sound of motorcycles echoed ominously. Dwayne and John instinctively slowed their steps, turning their heads slightly. At the far end of the pier, 3 men on motorcycles rolled in, their engines growling like hungry predators. Even from a distance, it was clear they weren't here for the view. John narrowed his eyes. "Looks like trouble." Dwayne nodded grimly. "Yeah. Let's keep an eye on this." The leader of the bikers growled as he stepped closer to Tyler, his boots thudding heavily against the wooden pier. His greasy blonde hair gleamed under the morning sun, and his faded leather jacket creaked with every movement. 2 rough-looking companions flanked him, their postures predatory, like hyenas ready to back up their alpha. Tyler didn't flinch. He kept his gaze steady, gripping his fishing rod tighter. "I'm fishing," he replied calmly, his voice unwavering despite the tension thickening in the air. The leader smirked, leaning down slightly so he could look Tyler directly in the eye. "Oh, RLI," he drawled sarcastically. "And who says you're allowed to fish?" "Huh." The shorter biker chimed in, sneering. "Yeah, kid. What makes you think you can win any tournament?" Tyler exhaled slowly, choosing his words carefully. "Last time I checked, you don't need legs to hold a fishing rod." The crowd that had begun gathering murmured softly, some nodding in agreement while others held their breath, waiting to see how the bikers would react. The leader's smirk faltered for half a second before he let out a sharp laugh. "Oh, so you've got jokes, huh?" The tattooed biker leaned down further, hands on his knees, sneering at Tyler. "Bet that's all you've got, jokes. Because no one's taking you seriously." Tyler met his gaze head-on, refusing to back down. "Maybe not. But I don't need them to. I just need to win." The shorter biker let out a barking laugh, nudging the leader. "This kid's got balls, I'll give him that." But the leader's jaw tightened. He didn't appreciate being shown up, or embarrassed, in front of his crew. His eyes flickered to the fishing rod still clutched firmly in Tyler's hands. Without warning, he reached out and yanked it away from him. "Hey, give that back." Tyler protested, his calm demeanor cracking ever so slightly. The leader inspected the rod mockingly, turning it over in his hands. "What's this made of?" "Plastic." Tyler forced himself to stay composed. "Graphite. Lightweight but strong." The shorter biker snorted derisively. "Lightweight and strong. Kinda like the opposite of you." Tyler didn't react, which only irritated them more. With a casual snap, the leader broke the rod cleanly over his knee. The sharp crack echoed across the pier, drawing gasps from the spectators. For the first time, Tyler's expression faltered. He stared at the 2 broken pieces now dangling from the leader's hand, his stomach twisting into knots. "Oops," the leader grinned smugly before tossing the shattered remains into the ocean. Tyler swallowed hard, forcing himself to keep his voice steady. That was a custom rod. The tattooed biker feigned sympathy, clutching his chest dramatically. "Oh, no. Poor little fisherman lost his TOY." Tyler inhaled deeply through his nose, his fists clenched tightly on the arms of his wheelchair. "Guess I'll just have TO win the tournament without it." The leader's eyes darkened dangerously. This wasn't the reaction he wanted. He expected fear, tears, submission. Instead, Tyler's defiance burned brighter than ever. "Let's see just how tough he really is," the leader muttered to his crew, nodding toward Tyler's wheelchair. Before Tyler could react, the bikers grabbed the sides of his chair and began rocking it violently back and forth. Panic surged within him as he struggled to maintain balance. "What the hell are you doing?" Tyler shouted, his voice rising above the chaos. The tattooed biker grinned maliciously. "Relax, little fisherman. We're just giving you a nice ocean breeze." Tyler tightened his grip on the armrests, glaring at them defiantly. "You guys are pathetic." The shorter biker laughed cruelly. "Yeah? Well, let's see how pathetic this feels." With one final shove, they pushed Tyler off the pier. The icy water swallowed Tyler whole, the shock of it hitting him like a freight train. His wheelchair dragged him down mercilessly, its weight pulling him deeper into the dark, suffocating abyss. Panic surged through his chest as he thrashed against the straps that trapped him in place. His lungs burned, screaming for air, while his fingers fumbled clumsily with the buckles, numbed by the freezing cold. Above the surface, the bikers laughed cruelly, their voices muffled but still audible beneath the waves. They thought it was funny, a sick joke to break a kid's spirit. But they didn't count on two things: Tyler's determination and the wrath of John Cena and Dwayne Johnson. Before Tyler could succumb to the darkness creeping at the edges of his vision, a massive splash shattered the silence above. Someone had jumped in after him. Through the distorted blur of the water, Tyler saw a shadowy figure slicing toward him with incredible speed. Strong hands grabbed hold of him, working quickly to unbuckle the straps that held him prisoner. With one final tug, the pressure around Tyler's waist released, and suddenly, he was being pulled upward toward the light. Tyler's head burst above the surface, and he gasped violently, sucking in desperate breaths of air. His limbs trembled from the cold, but the solid grip on his chest and shoulder kept him afloat. "You're okay, kid," Dwayne's voice cut through the chaos, steady and reassuring. "I got you." Dwayne began kicking powerfully toward the pier, holding Tyler securely with one arm. Above them, all hell had broken loose. John Cena roared with unbridled fury, his normally charismatic demeanor replaced by pure rage. "What the hell is wrong with you?" His thunderous voice echoed across the pier as he stormed toward the bikers, who were too busy laughing to realize what was coming. The leader barely had time to react before Cena's fist smashed into his gut. The impact lifted him off his feet, sending him crashing onto the wooden planks with a painful grunt. The second biker fumbled for something, maybe a weapon, maybe just an instinctive defense, but Cena was faster. He grabbed the man by his jacket, lifted him clean off the ground, and hurled him into the railing. Wood splintered under the force, and the man let out a strangled cry. The third biker tried to bolt, scrambling for his motorcycle. Bad move. Dwayne, still treading water with one arm while holding Tyler, launched him toward the edge of the pier where a bystander reached down to help pull him up. Then, without missing a beat, Dwayne hauled himself out of the water in one swift movement. The fleeing biker barely had time to swing his leg over the seat before Dwayne yanked him backward, ripping him off the bike like he weighed nothing. The man hit the ground hard, groaning in pain. By now, a crowd had gathered, some yelling in shock, others recording the scene on their phones. The bikers lay sprawled out, groaning and barely moving. Cena stood over them, fists clenched, chest heaving with barely contained anger. Tyler lay on the pier, coughing up water, his body trembling from the cold. A woman from the crowd wrapped a towel around his shoulders, murmuring reassurances. But his focus was locked on Cena and Dwayne. Cena crouched low, his voice deathly quiet. "You think you're tough, throwing a kid in the water." The leader winced, cradling his ribs. We were just messing around." John grabbed him by the front of his jacket, lifting him up so their faces were inches apart. "You think that was funny?" Cena growled. "Let's see if you're still laughing when the cops get here." The leader gulped, his earlier confidence completely shattered. Dwayne walked over, dripping wet but unbothered, and wiped a hand down his face to clear the water. His gaze locked onto the third biker, the one he'd yanked off the bike. "You ever lay a hand on a kid again," Dwayne said, his voice calm but razor-sharp, "I swear. You'll wish the ocean had taken you first." The sound of sirens cut through the tension. Police cars arrived in full force, officers spilling out with weapons drawn. Witnesses stepped forward, showing video footage and explaining what had happened. Within minutes, the bikers were shoved into the backs of police cars, their faces bruised, egos shattered. Tyler sat on the pier, wrapped in a towel, his body trembling not just from the cold but from the adrenaline still coursing through him. The trophy was still far away, both literally and figuratively, but something inside him had shifted. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore. He was fighting for everyone who'd ever been told they didn't belong. Dwayne knelt beside him, his massive frame blocking out the morning sun. "You scared them more than they scared you," he said with a small smirk. "That's why they went after you." Tyler swallowed hard, his voice cracking slightly as he spoke. They broke my rod." His fingers tightened around the edge of the towel, knuckles white. "I was going to use it for the tournament." Cena and Dwayne exchanged a glance. Then Cena grinned, clapping a hand on Tyler's shoulder. "Well, I guess that just means we're going to have to get you a new one." Tyler blinked, his eyes darting between the two men. "Wait, what?" Dwayne stood up, crossing his arms over his chest. "You think we'd let those idiots take away your shot at winning? No chance in hell." Cena nodded firmly. "Tomorrow, you go out there and show everyone why you belong. And we'll be right there, front row." Tyler's breath steadied as he looked at them, two of the strongest, most famous athletes in the world. They believed in him. Slowly, a small but determined smile spread across his face. "All right," he said, his voice stronger now. "I won't let you down." Dwayne chuckled, ruffling Tyler's hair playfully. "We know you won't." As the police cars drove off and the crowd began to disperse, Cena and Dwayne helped Tyler off the pier, making sure he was warm and safe. Tomorrow would be the tournament, and Tyler was going to win. The morning sun cast a golden glow over the docks, shimmering off the water like glittering diamonds. The air buzzed with excitement as fishermen of all ages lined up along the waterfront, their rods primed and ready. It was tournament day, and Tyler sat at his designated spot, gripping his new high-performance graphite rod firmly in his hands. This wasn't just any fishing rod. It was sleek, powerful, and perfectly balanced, far superior to the one destroyed by the bikers. True to their word, Cena and Dwayne had gotten him a replacement, and not just any rod. It was a top-tier competition-grade model used by professionals. When Tyler first held it, he felt an electric surge of confidence course through him. "There's no excuse now," Tyler whispered to himself under his breath, his knuckles white from gripping the rod so tightly. Nearby, John Cena and Dwayne Johnson stood tall, acting as silent guardians watching over the event. Their presence didn't go unnoticed. Whispers rippled through the crowd as people pointed them out. But their focus wasn't on the spectators. It was entirely on Tyler. As Tyler prepared for the start of the tournament, he could hear murmurs behind him. Some competitors sneered openly, shaking their heads. "What's he even doing here?" one man muttered loud enough for Tyler to hear. "He should have saved his entry fee." Tyler clenched his jaw but didn't turn around. He didn't need to look. He could feel the weight of those skeptical eyes on him. But more importantly, he could feel something else, the unshakable belief emanating from Cena and Dwayne. Their unwavering support acted like armor, shielding him from the doubt pressing in from all sides. Then came the sharp whistle, the signal to begin. Without hesitation, Tyler cast his line with precision, sending the bait soaring over the shimmering water. His movements were fluid, instinctive, born from countless hours of practice. Each flick of the wrist, each adjustment of posture, spoke volumes about the dedication he'd poured into this moment. For the next few minutes, there was silence, only the rhythmic sound of waves lapping against the dock and the occasional splash as other anglers reeled in their catches. Fishermen up and down the pier hauled in small trout and bass, some respectable, others less impressive. The leaderboard began taking shape, names shifting as judges recorded weights and sizes. But Tyler remained patient. Fishing wasn't just about speed, it was about timing, strategy, and knowing when to strike. And Tyler knew exactly what he was waiting for. Finally, it happened. A sharp tug on his line sent adrenaline surging through his veins. His rod bent forward dramatically, the tip nearly dipping into the water. Instinct kicked in immediately. "Gotcha," Tyler muttered through gritted teeth, snapping the rod back to set the hook deep. The battle began. The first round of the tournament was chaos. Controlled chaos, but chaos nonetheless. Fishermen scrambled to cast their lines, some shouting in frustration as their bait got stolen by smaller fish, others grinning triumphantly as they reeled in respectable catches. Tyler stayed calm, his focus unshakable. When the whistle blew, signaling the start of the competition, Tyler's movements were precise and deliberate. His new graphite rod bent gracefully as he cast his line far into the water, the bait disappearing beneath the shimmering surface with a soft plop. The crowd murmured around him, skeptical eyes watching every move. But Tyler didn't care. He had trained for this moment, and nothing would distract him now. Minutes ticked by, and the tension on the dock grew thicker. Competitors began hauling in fish one after another, each hoping to secure an early lead. Some caught small trout or bass, earning polite nods from judges. Others came up empty-handed, shaking their heads in disappointment. Then it happened. A sharp tug on Tyler's line sent adrenaline surging through him again. This time, there was no hesitation. With practiced ease, he set the hook deep, his arms tightening as the unseen fish fought back fiercely beneath the waves. "Come on, kid," Dwayne shouted from the sidelines, his voice cutting through the noise of the crowd. Tyler leaned forward slightly, using his body weight to counterbalance the pull. His muscles burned as he worked the reel, inch by inch, bringing the fish closer to the surface. The crowd noticed the struggle unfolding at his station, murmurs rippling through the spectators like a wave. John Cena crossed his arms, his expression intense but hopeful. "He's got this," he muttered under his breath, though loud enough for those nearby to hear. Finally, Tyler lifted the fish onto the dock, a medium-sized bass that glinted silver in the sunlight. The judge weighed it quickly, jotting down the number before nodding approvingly. "Not bad, kid," the judge said with a small smile, clearly impressed. But Tyler wasn't satisfied, not yet. He reset his line and cast again, his determination unwavering. Round after round, he clawed his way up the leaderboard, proving himself not just to the doubters but to everyone watching. By the end of the day, Tyler had advanced to the semifinals. His name appeared near the top of the scoreboard, nestled among seasoned anglers who had spent years honing their craft. Whispers of disbelief turned into murmurs of admiration as people realized this young angler wasn't backing down. As Tyler packed up his gear for the evening, John and Dwayne approached him, pride radiating from their expressions. "You're making history, kid," Cena said, clapping Tyler on the shoulder. Dwayne grinned, crossing his arms. "And tomorrow? You're going all the way." Tyler nodded, clutching his rod tightly. "I'm not stopping until I win." The final round of the tournament was electric, charged with anticipation and raw emotion. Tyler sat at his station, gripping his graphite rod tightly, his knuckles white from the tension. Across from him stood Greg Sutton, a towering figure with years of championships under his belt. His presence alone commanded respect, but Tyler refused to be intimidated. Greg smirked as he adjusted his hat, casting a sidelong glance at Tyler. "Didn't think you'd make it this far," he said casually, his voice carrying just enough arrogance to rile anyone up. Tyler didn't flinch. He met Greg's gaze head-on, his expression calm but resolute. "Didn't think I would either." Greg chuckled, shaking his head. "We'll see if you've got one more in you." The starting whistle blew, and both competitors cast their lines simultaneously. The air grew heavy with silence as everyone watched, waiting for the first bite. Minutes passed without incident, just the rhythmic lapping of waves against the dock and the occasional rustle of wind. Then it happened. A sharp, violent tug nearly yanked Tyler's rod out of his hands. His body lurched forward, but he planted himself firmly, adjusting his angle to counterbalance the force beneath the water. "Whoa!" someone in the crowd gasped audibly. John Cena and Dwayne Johnson stood at the edge of the pier, their expressions tense but hopeful. The fish on Tyler's line was massive. It fought like a beast, thrashing wildly as it tried to escape. "Come on, kid!" Dwayne shouted, his voice cutting through the murmurs of the spectators. Tyler gritted his teeth, sweat dripping down his face as he worked the reel with controlled precision. Every muscle in his arms burned, every fiber of his being focused on one goal, pulling this fish in. But Greg wasn't idle either. He had hooked something big too. Both anglers were locked in an intense tug-of-war, their rods bent almost double under the strain. Spectators held their breath, unsure who would prevail. Then disaster struck. With a loud snap, Tyler's line broke. The sudden loss of resistance sent him stumbling backward slightly, his heart sinking. "No!" Cena exclaimed, his fists clenching involuntarily. Greg grinned triumphantly as he continued reeling in his catch, clearly confident that victory was within reach. The judges prepared to weigh his fish, ready to declare him the winner. For a split second, Tyler stared at the broken line in disbelief. Defeat loomed over him, threatening to crush everything he'd worked so hard for. And then, amidst the chaos, a voice cut through the noise. "Don't stop!" Cena roared, his voice booming across the pier. Dwayne followed, his tone steady but firm. "You've got this, Tyler." Tyler clenched his jaw, determination flooding back into his veins. Without hesitation, he reached forward and grabbed the loose end of the line with his bare hands. Gasps rippled through the crowd as they realized what he was doing. "Is he crazy?" someone whispered nearby. Inch by agonizing inch, Tyler began pulling the fish in manually. His fingers burned, the rough texture of the line digging into his palms. His muscles screamed for relief, but he ignored the pain, focusing solely on the task ahead. Greg finally hauled his fish onto the dock, raising it triumphantly above his head. Tyler was mere seconds behind him, his entire body trembling with effort. With one final burst of strength, Tyler gave a mighty yank, and the water exploded as the fish emerged, landing with a loud thud on the dock. The judges rushed over, weighing both catches side by side. Silence fell over the crowd as they awaited the results. Finally, the scoreboard flashed. Tyler's fish outweighed Greg's by less than a pound. The crowd erupted in cheers, the sound deafening as the announcer stepped up to the podium. The crowd's cheers were deafening, a tidal wave of sound that seemed to lift Tyler off the ground, metaphorically at least. He sat there, gripping the gleaming trophy in his hands, his chest rising and falling as he struggled to catch his breath. His arms burned, his fingers ached, and every muscle in his body screamed for relief. But none of it mattered now. He had done it. Tyler stared at the golden engraving on the trophy, first place. The words shimmered under the fading sunlight, each letter reflecting not just the tournament's victory but something far greater, a testament to resilience, determination, and a refusal to back down no matter what. Greg Sutton stood nearby, shaking his head with a grudging smile. "That was insane," he admitted, extending his hand toward Tyler. "You're the real deal, kid." Tyler hesitated for a split second before reaching out to shake Greg's hand. The gesture was simple but powerful, a symbol of respect between two competitors who had left everything on the dock. The crowd roared again, their applause thunderous as they celebrated not just Tyler's win but the sportsmanship displayed by both anglers. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer's voice boomed over the microphone, cutting through the noise. "We have our champion. Let's give it up for Tyler." As the crowd erupted once more, John Cena and Dwayne Johnson pushed their way through the throng, grinning from ear to ear. Dwayne clapped his hands together, letting out a booming laugh, while Cena pointed straight at Tyler, his expression filled with pure pride. "Told you we'd be here," Cena said, kneeling beside Tyler's wheelchair and patting his shoulder firmly. Dwayne crossed his arms over his broad chest, nodding approvingly. "And we told you you'd win." Tyler laughed, still trying to steady his breathing. "Yeah, but I don't think anyone expected that." Cena shook his head, his voice soft but firm. "Doesn't matter how it happened. What matters is you never quit." Dwayne leaned in slightly, his tone playful but sincere. "And you proved every single one of those doubters wrong." Tyler glanced down at the trophy again, the weight of it feeling more meaningful than he could put into words. For so long, people had told him what he couldn't do. Today, he showed them exactly what he could. A cameraman pushed closer, signaling for an interview. The announcer leaned in with a microphone, his voice carrying genuine excitement. "Tyler, this was one of the most incredible moments in tournament history. What do you have to say to everyone watching?" Tyler paused for a moment, collecting his thoughts. Then he turned his gaze toward the camera, his confidence unwavering. "To everyone who's ever felt like they weren't good enough. To everyone who's been told people don't believe in them." Tyler raised the trophy high above his head, his voice growing stronger with each word. "This is for you. Keep fighting. Keep believing. And prove them wrong." The crowd exploded into cheers once more, many visibly moved by his words. It wasn't just about winning a fishing tournament, it was about inspiring others to rise above adversity, to keep pushing forward even when the odds seemed insurmountable. Dwayne clapped Tyler on the back, grinning. "Damn right." Cena chuckled, crossing his arms. "Now that's a championship speech." As the celebration continued, people rushed forward to congratulate Tyler. Some shook his hand, others asked for pictures, and a few simply stood back in awe, taking in the magnitude of what they had just witnessed. But amidst the chaos, Tyler's focus shifted. He looked up at Cena and Dwayne, a new question forming in his mind. "So," he began, tilting his head slightly, "who do I talk to about defending my title next year?" Cena and Dwayne exchanged a glance before bursting into laughter. "I think we just found our next champion," Dwayne smirked, crossing his arms. Cena nodded, his grin widening. "And we'll be right here to watch you win it again." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of deep orange and purple, Tyler sat on the edge of the pier once more. The trophy rested beside him, gleaming faintly in the fading light. His hands were still sore from gripping the fishing line, but the pain felt like a badge of honor, a reminder of what he had overcome. John Cena and Dwayne Johnson stood nearby, their towering figures silhouetted against the twilight. They weren't just spectators anymore, they were part of Tyler's story now. Heroes who had stepped in when darkness threatened to take over. "You know," Dwayne said, breaking the serene silence, "there's something special about moments like this." Tyler glanced up at him, his expression curious. "What do you mean?" Dwayne crouched down, resting his forearms on his knees. "I mean, this right here isn't just about you winning a trophy. It's about what you've done for others. You showed them that no obstacle is too big if you've got heart." Cena nodded, crossing his arms as he gazed out at the water. "People are going to remember this day, not because you caught the biggest fish, but because you stood up. Because you kept fighting when everyone else thought you should quit." Tyler looked down at the trophy again, running his fingers along its engraved surface. For so long, he'd carried the weight of other people's doubts. Now, he realized, he was carrying something far greater, the hopes of anyone who had ever been told they didn't belong. "Do you think I can do it again next year?" Tyler asked, tilting his head slightly. Cena smirked, clapping a hand on Tyler's shoulder. "Kid, I don't think you can. I know you will." Dwayne chuckled, standing back up. "And we'll be right here cheering louder than before." Tyler grinned, his confidence unwavering. "Good. Because I'm not done making history." The three shared a laugh, the sound echoing softly across the water. In that moment, Tyler wasn't just a champion. He was a symbol of resilience, a beacon of hope for anyone who dared to dream bigger than the world allowed.
And that's where our story ends. What did you think of this story? Share your emotions in the comments below. We'd love to know what you remember most. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more unforgettable stories. And if you are in the mood for another exciting story, check out our next video. It's waiting for you. Until then, stay curious, get inspired, and keep exploring the stories that make life extraordinary. See you in the next one.